Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Astrologers. I'm your Astro Weather Girl here with this week's Astro Weather Report. Thanks so much for joining me. Before I get cracking on this week's astrological weather, and there's plenty happening in the sky, so stay tuned, but I want to give a shout out to my darling colleague at Astrologers, Bobby. Bobby is a brilliant psychic. I've been going through some rather difficult court issues over the last few months, and certainly getting the guidance and support from Bobby has been invaluable. She has been on the money 100% with everything that I've been experiencing. I can't believe it. Even when things looked dire in one sense, Bobby said, stick with it, hang in there, you're going to be really pleasantly surprised by the outcome. Oh my God, and that is exactly what has happened. So everything has unfolded with the timings that she said and with the outcomes that she said. So I just cannot praise Bobby's skill highly enough. I've had a couple of readings from her throughout my life, and I just want to really uphold her great dedication to her craft. Her capacity and her skill is second to none. So if you're going through a tough time and you need some answers, you want some reassurance, you could easily get an astrological reading from me, but also there is the option of combining that with the skills of somebody like Bobby, who is utterly brilliant. So shout out to Bobby. Thank you, Bobby. I love you, darling. And do check her out if you would like to get a reading from a very reputable and brilliant psychic. So let's get on with the weather then. And the first thing that's unfolding this week, we are seeing happen on the 6th of March, and this will be Venus moving into its own sign, Taurus. So here we are down here. Venus has been in Aries for a while, and she is just about to move into the sign of Taurus, which is her own sign. Venus rules Taurus. She's naturally at home there, so she does a lot of good work there. Venus energy is healthy in the sign of Taurus. However, on the 6th of March, when she moves in there, she will actually be making a square aspect, you can see here, to Saturn. So this is when they're roughly, give or take a few degrees, but roughly 90 degrees from one another. And so this is playing out at the same time as Venus moves into its home territory. Now, Venus has been in good dignity in Aries, so we've been feeling a lot of upbeat kind of energy regarding money, regarding love, regarding beauty and relationships and friendships with women and all the things ruled by Venus. So that's been really rather healthy over the last little while, and it's going to continue to be so as Venus is in its home territory, its own house, so to speak. But this square from Saturn will tend to color things a little. We're going to explore what that's going to mean for us, what we're going to encounter generally during this time when we're having a square from Saturn to Venus. Now, I want to point out that you might have things in your own personal chart that will color how this plays out for you in a different light. Let's say Venus in Taurus is making a conjunction with your Sun. Well, that's going to play out in a very different way, because not only will Venus by transit be making a square to Saturn, but your Sun natally at the same time will be making a square to Saturn as well. And so that will mix things up a great deal more, and you may end up with more energy from the Sun-Saturn square that is happening in your life. That'll be far more noticeable than Venus square Saturn by transit. So keep in mind that what I share astrologically every week is going to be different for everyone based on where their own personal planets fall. But we will notice in the ether, in our experience, in our, if we're very energetically attuned, we will notice subtle and sometimes even very strong implications from this transit that's unfolding right now. So do take what I share with the knowledge that your personal chart might be causing a greater or a lesser impact based on what is playing out there. Now, Saturn represents fear. It represents a lot of things, but fear, criticism, and being very hard on yourself and on people around you, being very dogmatic and, stickler for the rules and those sorts of things. These can be very Saturnian qualities. And when we're looking at a square aspect, as in this case, that means that the sort of the harder side of Saturn comes out. If this was like a harmonious interaction between Venus and Saturn, we might be looking at characteristics playing out such as maturity, responsibility, endurance, perseverance, those sort of higher, more aspirational or high-level qualities of Saturn. But in the hard aspect, we tend to see more of the harder characteristics of Saturn playing out. And so when it's making this square to Venus, the planet of love and beauty and money and relationships, we find that we can be very fearful of relationships. We can have a lot of criticism in and around our relationships. We can have a lot of self-depreciation going on in relationships. So because of that, you can expect that there may be some delays, some restrictions, some blockages in the context of relationships that are coming from fear, coming from criticism, coming from a lack of self-worth at this time. You can also feel a lack of confidence in love. You know, you might have been fine for a while there, you know, a couple of months, and everything was going great, and you felt very confident in your relationship and in your ability to be a good lover and all that sort of thing. And then along comes Saturn square Venus by transit, and suddenly you feel like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not really sure that he actually loves me. Or, you know, I feel that my money is actually under threat and unstable now. You know, I need to shore things up. I need to put some security in place with my money because I'm feeling a fear regarding my finances, regarding my possessions, regarding my self-worth even. So Saturn puts these things in place to make us change our behavior, and sometimes that can cause, as I said, blockages, fears, and delays regarding the things represented by Venus: love, money, beauty. It's a time when we have Saturn square Venus happening, and it happens roughly twice a year, give or take, depending on what Venus is doing, whether it's a Venus retrograde year or not. But we will see it play out at least twice a year. And this is a time when we can feel a bit depressed, a bit down, a bit lonely. Now, even like at the moment in Australia, it's autumn and the weather is divine and the sun is beautiful and there's this steady stillness in the air. You know what autumn's like, especially the early months of autumn. They're just glorious. So even though the weather outside could be beautiful and, you know, even if you're out of circumstances could be absolutely lovely, your relationship mightn't have changed at all externally. Internally, you might be feeling low. You might be feeling alone. You might be feeling somewhat isolated even from the people that you would usually care about, from the world at large. So just know it's a passing energetic phase that is part of the current astrological weather, and it won't last very long. So do keep that in mind. If you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling lonely, go into that space, feel what it feels like to be in that zone, knowing that it will pass. Have a cry if you need to. You know, have some time out if you need to. You know, if you're feeling lonely, you know, curl up on the couch, watch a movie. You know, do whatever you need to be in that space, to feel the energy and know that it will pass. And next week you'll be, you know, out singing and dancing and having a fine old time. When Saturn is making a square to Venus, it is calling us to be more mature and level-headed and responsible regarding our material goods and our material circumstances in life. So I would say for this week, tighten your belt. Don't go buying, you know, that third cup of coffee for the day. You know, pare back a little, you know, use the instant coffee at work instead of going and buying your third cup. Or, you know, when you plan to go out for a drink on Friday night, you sort of set a limit. I'm not going to spend more than XYZ because this is a week for being materially responsible. When you go shopping, do be careful. You know, don't go splashing the cash around. You may very well regret it at this time because This is a time when we need to be materially savvy, responsible, and dutiful, okay? And like I said, it only lasts a short period of time, in 2 or 3 weeks' time. Get out there on the town if you want to and go and have, parties and drink and whatever you want to do. But for now, it's about being responsible with our money and making it stretch and go for the long haul. So if you focus your energy into doing that, you'll be working well with this particular alignment, and it will actually serve to bless you in the long term. It's a time for being patient and diligent with regards to money and love. So let's say you're in a relationship and, you're feeling a bit frustrated, or there's some tension there from something or other. Keep working on the relationship. Don't pack it in. Don't throw it away just because there's this tension there or friction there. Keep working on the relationship. When you're feeling like sending your spouse a vicious text because they left their towels and dirty undies all over the floor this morning. Instead, do the opposite. Go and, buy a box of chocolates or a nice bottle of wine for them or something, their favorite wine, or buy a pair of sexy undies for them because they keep leaving their undies all over the floor. Buy them something sexy that's worth leaving around to be seen. Go and do something that's totally the opposite of what you might be inclined to do. Work on the relationship, invest in the relationship, give to the relationship at this time. The same goes for money. You will have to work to maintain what you have at this time financially. And it's like I said, it's only for a short blip, a couple of days, maybe the week, and then it's going to pass and dissolve, this energy. But it's a time for working to maintain the financial resources you've had. And I've kind of given you an illustration of that. It means paring back, it means tightening your belt, it means being sensible and mature and responsible. So that's the first energy we can see at work this week. I will also add that you can probably notice something else is happening at this time as well. And we've got Venus making a conjunction with Uranus. Now, this is occurring a couple of days after Venus moves into Taurus on the 8th of March. So this will be happening, and when we have a conjunction with Uranus, this brings in a whole new set of dynamics that are at play with the transiting energies. Like I said before, it will be affected by whatever your chart looks like, but generally we will get a sense or a tone of this happening this week. And what it brings us are changes to love and money right now. So it's almost like Saturn is setting up, the Saturn-Venus square is setting up the dynamics that are going to bring changes. So for example, if you need to tighten your belt while Saturn is squaring Venus, that is ultimately going to bring in or herald some serious changes to how you deal with your money. So you might decide you're cutting back on the amount of bought coffees you have each day. And you'd go from 3 back to 1 in order to tighten your belt. And you might find, well, you know what? I've suddenly found that I've got $60 extra in my wallet because I'm not buying, 3 coffees a day. I could go with this for a permanent situation. And so then when Uranus makes a conjunction with Venus, you make a decision. I'm making changes to how I'm spending my money. I'm going to really turn things around here. I'm going to turn my financial situation around. From now on, 1 coffee a day. That'll be fine, So you make changes now and alterations. Uranus is the planet of change. And it's not always negative change. It can be very positive change. And with Saturn making a square here as well, because this energy will kind of be starting to dissipate, but still there, you will make structural changes that are going to then stick with you. Things like changing how much money you spend on coffee every week, or changing how many nights you go out partying and drinking and spending money on good times or whatever. You might make structural changes to your life and your routine there as well. Again, there can also be structural changes to love as well, and how you are investing in your relationship also. Again, I gave you an example a moment ago, and you might decide, I'm going to make this a permanent approach for me. When I'm pissed off, I'm going to react in a completely opposite manner. It doesn't mean I'm not going to say, hey, pick up your dirty undies off the bathroom floor, but you might be able to actually pad that out with an act of love combined as well. Or you might, that's just an example, you might find other ways to restructure the dynamics of your relationship that's coming out of this Saturn-Venus square that you might like to implement more long-term to bring benefit into your love life. So after feeling maybe a bit stuck, a bit low, a bit lonely, a bit depressed with the Venus square Saturn earlier in the week regarding love, regarding money particularly, these are the two big themes of Venus, there is going to be a sudden, because Uranus is sudden, an unexpected redirectioning now that happens with money. You mightn't have even planned this to happen and boom, you're off in a different direction. Or you might suddenly get new opportunities for money coming your way, or new opportunities for love coming your way. So it can be really beneficial also if you're single at this time to jump online if you want to find a partner. Some of us are very happy single and don't care less. But if you are looking for a partner, it can be very beneficial now to seek love in alternative ways, although, online is fairly mainstream way to meet people these days. But the Uranian influence is one of progressive systems and technologies. So using the internet or a dating site or something can actually have some benefit now, and the universe has got your back for going down that road if you want to at this time also. So from this, there can be a sudden redirectioning. And look, Taurus has associations with sensuality and love within the context of five senses. The other sign that Venus rules is the sign of Libra up here. And Libra is about relationships. Venus rules relationships, but Taurus has some connections to love too, and it usually comes in that idea of a sensual connection, the touch, taste, sound, sight, smell, of interaction at a very deep, intimate level with another person. So the Uranian Venus energy here can cause sudden manifestations in those realms for us. Whether we're married, whether we're single, it doesn't matter. We can feel this sudden connection, sudden love in a very tactile, sensual way. And if we are single and we're not looking for a relationship, we're not looking for partnership, more power to us if that's where we're at. Then you might feel this sensual energy in other realms of life. You might really enjoy some decadent food, unexpectedly get an opportunity to go out to the best restaurant in town and enjoy some fine chocolate dessert or something, and really get in touch with your sensual side in other ways, and just love that sort of the pleasurable, the tactile, the beautiful smells and such and so forth in our life experience on the planet. I mean, Taurus is a very grounded sign. It's an earth energy connected to the material realm that we reside in as human beings on the planet Earth. So you will be feeling more tactile, feeling more sensual regarding your earthly experience, and it will likely manifest in an unexpected, sudden way for you. So because Venus does have this connection with not so much romance, but sensual exploration and sensual connection with others, it's a great time when Venus makes a conjunction with Uranus. Again, this happens once a year, that you might be able to really get experimental around sex and your sensuality and try new things, be a bit unconventional, do things out of routine, out of the ordinary that you wouldn't usually do. So I don't know, maybe you used to missionary position all the time, and then around this time of year when we have Venus conjunct with Uranus, you're like, let's go and go behind a bush in the park, something completely different and out of the ordinary, and maybe a bit almost rebellious or a bit risque in some way as well. So lots of fun to be had if you're open and receptive to this energy. We do tend to feel a bit of a thrill-seeking energy with this combination, and Uranus is the thrill seeker and Venus is about pleasure. So it'll be these thrill-seeking opportunities, these sort of risque, adventurous, unconventional opportunities that will be experienced in realms to do with pleasure. So, Uranus is roller coaster rides, and for many people, roller coaster rides are very pleasurable. So, hey, you might be going down that road. But also, you know, like I said, doing that secret rendezvous behind the bush in the park could be a real thrill-seeking, pleasurable experience for you. Could manifest in many ways, where it's a bit edgy, a bit exciting, a bit exhilarating, and yet there's pleasure there as well. It's not like Pluto, which is a real edge walker in terms of the danger element, the excitement that comes from danger. This combination is the excitement that comes from pleasure in a very sort of thrilling sense. So lots of fun here with this one. Anything that you start at this time. Now, I need to quantify that. It is still Mercury retrograde, so we try and encourage people not to start things during Mercury retrograde. But sometimes that's unavoidable, and we need to just flow with the energy of, like in our personal chart. If the timing in our personal chart is saying it's right to start something, we've got to trust that the universe is guiding us where we need to be, and that, hey, Mercury retrograde will serve some sort of purpose in that. I'm not a side note, I'm not a huge fan of electional astrology, simply because I'm a believer in God and that the universe has our back no matter what unfolds, that we're here to grow through our experiences, good, bad, or otherwise, and that we should be learning really to use to manifest higher level energies in all our circumstances, rather than, you know, living our life in fear, trying to pick the right date for this and that and the other. I'm really not a big proponent of electional astrology. Heads up for anyone who is thinking of getting an electional reading with me. I can do it, but it's not my favorite thing to do. I'm a believer in faith and the flow of the universe no matter what. So with that in mind, even though it is Mercury retrograde, sometimes it's unavoidable. We are called to start something new during Mercury retrograde. And if that's the case during these few days in your life, and when Venus and Uranus are conjunct, just know that it can bring about things that you'll start fresh that will last for a long time because of the square to Saturn. So let's say you jumped online and you met someone and you went out for a date, and it was like, oh, this is actually really good. I'm liking the uniqueness of this person. They're quite an individual and they're very interesting, and they like me, and it's a mutual thing. You can actually start a relationship at this time that will last for the long term. Ordinarily, Venus-Uranus conjunction type relationships, or relationships that start under this energy, they are a bit short-lived, or they're long distance, or they're on again, off again, because that's just the nature of Uranus influencing the Venus relationship energy. But when we have a square from Saturn as well, it does mean that there is capacity for endurance and perseverance and longevity that's being injected into whatever starts now. So if you're about to start something, that can be a project, or it can be a relationship, or some new money venture or something, just know that it could last for the long term. It could bring you more maturity and stability than might otherwise happen if it was just Venus and Uranus alone without the connection to Saturn happening. Okay? The final thing I want to mention with this energy is do watch out for impulse buying. Venus is how we spend our money and where we put our values. And when it's conjunct with Uranus, we can spend money suddenly, unexpectedly, on really crazy things that we wouldn't ordinarily be interested in. And then, of course, when this energy dissipates in a week or so, we're like, what the hell did I buy that outfit for? God, I look like a clown, or, why did I go and plonk down a deposit on that house? Far out. Pfft, what was I thinking? So do be really careful about how you're spending your money, and watch out for sort of impulse buys that haven't been well thought out with Uranus conjunct Venus. Now, it could be dissipated by the structural capacity of Saturn here, that could actually make you a little bit more sensible than might otherwise be the case. But just the same, I wanted to put the warning out there. Watch out for impulse spending at this time, even though Saturn might be sort of helping things be more stable than they might otherwise be with the Venus Uranus conjunction. The next energy I want to explore is this little baby over here, Neptune conjunct with the Sun this week, and this is occurring on the 9th of March. So the day after Venus conjuncts Uranus, we've got this one happening, and this is an annual event as well, the Sun making a conjunction with Neptune. This means that at this time in the sign of Pisces, this beautiful, sensitive, compassionate, very highly attuned energy, we are going to have increased sensitivity, increased intuition going on in our world, in our realm, and also a feeling of increased charity and compassion and kindness that we will give out to others. So you might want to watch out for impulse spending in that regard. I mean, if we've got plenty of money to hand out to people who are in need, fantastic, do that. Follow your impulses then. But for those of us who are living week to week and trying to manage and so forth, watch out for, the impulse to sort of give more than you can afford to a charity or to something that needs some sort of compassion work. It's great to give to those things, don't get me wrong. I'm all for that. Very big advocate for compassionate service in the world. But you've got to keep balance and 2 feet on the ground as well with your own state of being. So this is an energy where we're going to feel more compassionate, feel more giving, feel more charitable, as well as have our intuition and psychic attunement really amped up, like the dial is turned up to full. This is also a really beneficial time, especially in the sign of Pisces, because it's happening in the sign of Pisces. It's a very beneficial time for escaping reality. Now, that might sound like, running away, putting our head in the sand, that sort of thing, but not necessarily. And if we do escapism in healthy ways, it's very restorative. It's very rehabilitating and healing for us. Now is a great time to do this. So you may like to, if you've got the opportunity, take a short holiday, maybe take a 2-day weekend somewhere, or go for a day trip and drive somewhere and get out of the mainstream ordinary circles where you reside and interact and so forth. You could even just take an hour and go to a day spa, or you could take an afternoon and maybe you might like to get a massage or potter in the garden, or grab a book and read on the couch or something, all snuggled up. That's one of my favorite things to do, to grab a nice cozy blanket and a nice hot chocolate and a good book and lose myself for an hour or so. It's a beautiful form of escapism. There is healthy escapism here available to us as a source of healing and restoration at this time. Creativity can also be a form of escapism that's healthy as well with this energy. So you might decide, I haven't got my old paint set out for years. I'm going to, get out the oils and that blank canvas that's been sitting in the garage. I'm going to have, do a painting, and that's a form of escaping into creative expression as well. Often when we hear people talk in astrological worlds about Neptune and Pisces, you'll hear them say over and over again, drugs, alcohol, prisons, hospitals, all these sort of negative escaping avenues. They forget that escaping can be beautiful, can be healing, can be cathartic. That's where we need to focus our energy at this time, into those healthy escapist realms that build us up, that refresh us, that reinvigorate us, ready for life out in the real world. So we can manifest at this time the lower energies, and we want to avoid that, to stay away from spending, like I said earlier, spending too much money on going out and drinking and shooting up or whatever. You want to avoid that sort of stuff and seek out instead the highest manifestation of escapism for your well-being at this time. And the universe is going to provide opportunities for you to do so around the 9th. Around the 9th of March, you're going to get opportunities coming your way that will support this. You might even find that you're more imaginative now, more dreamy. So even just taking a 10-minute break at work to go and sit out on the I don't know, the balcony at work and just look into the clouds and have a bit of a daydream with your cup of coffee. That is also this energy, daydreaming, imagining. And as I often say when I'm talking about Neptune or Pisces, it's through the imagination, our capacity to imagine and dream, that we can actually create a new energy in our life. If we can change our inside perspective through our visioning, through our dreaming, if we change the energy that's inside us through our, like I said, envisioning what could happen for us and what we'd like the world to be, then it can shift our outer circumstances as well. People underestimate the power of dreaming, the power of our imagination, and really taking time to go there. Children do it all the time. Children, if you go for a drive and you've got kids, you go for a long drive, say you drive 2 hours away to visit grandma and grandpa or something, and the kids are in the back seat, and I mean these days I've got movies that they tend to escape into in the back seat, but sometimes, like my son, can't handle reading in the car or looking at his iPad in the car because he gets sick, so he'll stare out the window and just daydream. Kids do this easily. It comes like naturally to them. They go and get lost in their imaginings. And as adults, we tend to forget about that and forget the skills of that because we're, when I get home, I've got to put that load of washing on and I need to go and get those groceries. Oh my God, I didn't buy that book for that kid this week to do his year 9 project on, and we're lost in this must do, and we forget time out for our brains to unwind into imagination. So that is a simple, inexpensive form of escapism that you can indulge in now, that's actually very, very healthy for your well-being and for manifesting a better life for yourself also. One of the other challenging or lower manifesting energies of the Neptune Sun conjunction is the Sun is leaders and people in leadership. And Neptune at its lower level can represent deceit and having the wool pulled over your eyes and being led down the garden path, so as they say. At this time, we can encounter people who want to suck our energy. If we're being kind, if we're being compassionate, we can be a bit susceptible to people who are going to take advantage of that sort of situation. So be on the alert. Don't sort of head in the sand about things. Be not cynical, but act with your feet on the ground, with a bit of realism about the motivations of other people at this time. And don't try and avoid being deceived or sucked in where you possibly can. Add with a bit of caution and discretion. One of the things that Neptune Pisces represents is the need to be able to set boundaries. If you've got a strong Neptune in your natal chart or a strong Pisces, then you need to practice and learn to set boundaries. Don't let people railroad you, walk all over you, dominate you. I'm very Neptunian and very Piscean myself, so it's been a learning curve for my life to be able to say, hey, nah, that's not acceptable. And I'm practicing this daily with my children, especially as they get older, wanting to push my limits, see where mum will, draw the line and so forth. And so, I'm pretty easygoing, a bit floaty, a bit too lenient. I have to consciously practice putting boundaries. No, you'll not, take all my money for XYZ and computer games and blah, blah, blah. And this is where it ends. This is the boundary. This is the limit. This is something that we're being called to address on this day, to really make sure our boundaries are firm with people who are energy vampires or people who, want to deceive us and so forth. So do be aware of putting appropriate boundaries in place on this day so that you can navigate through this time, drawing on the highest energies of benefit for your life rather than being sucked into deceit and disappointment. So it's a busy, busy week. And one of the culmination points for this week is going to be the full moon that is occurring in the sign of Virgo. Now, a full moon always happens, for those who are kind of new to this, the full moon always happens when the sun and moon are opposite in the sky, and that's what's Bit of a wobbly line there, but that's what's going to be occurring this week. The full moon, we had a new moon 2 weeks ago in the sign of Pisces. This week, it's a full moon in the opposite sign of Virgo. This is the culmination point. So we've got a busy week. You know, there's activation on the 6th and the 8th, and then there's activation on the 9th, and then boom, new full moon rather, on the 10th of March. Now, in the sign of Virgo, this is going to mean we're going to be quite detail oriented at this time. We're going to be focused on the details of our life. We might even lose the big picture, not seeing the forest for the trees. We're so focused on the P's and Q's and the dotting the I's and crossing the T's that we don't see what the actual sentence is. Virgo is very, very minutely detail focused, which is opposite to Pisces, which is all encompassing. It's about everyone and everything and the oneness of the universe and the big picture. It's ruled by Jupiter, which is all about expansiveness and looking from a bird's eye view at things. And when we're in the opposite sign to Pisces, it's all about detail. So that's where our attention is going to be in some senses. This week, we're going to be focused on the detail around the time of this Virgo full moon. And Virgo is a sign that's all about perfecting the self, making the self better, as well as we tend to, when we're Virgo strong, we tend to want to perfect everybody around us as well, make things right, make things perfect, make things good, because of course the world is not perfect. And the world is full of hurt and full of poverty and full of disease, and that sucks. And Virgo, God bless them, they want to lift people back up to perfection. They want to lift humanity out of this muck and mire that it's in. Beautiful sign because of that. But sometimes the way Virgo goes about it can be really confronting to a lot of people. So we're in this zone now with the full moon here of wanting to perfect the self. You've got to ask yourself, or I would encourage you rather, or instead of being bossy Virgo, I want to encourage you to assess what is it that you have been working on perfecting for the last year since we last had a full moon in Virgo. What have you been perfecting in yourself? What have you been working on to make your life better, to make your own character better, your integrity better, your relationships better? What is it that you've been working on, that you've been perfecting over the last year? And look and see, how far have you come? So instead of criticizing, this is a critical sign, and one of the downfalls of critiquing things is that we're never happy with where we're at, and we're always looking to better, further on. What's happening next? How can I improve? What needs to be fixed now? I want to encourage everybody during this full moon to look at where you've come from in the past year and celebrate that. Use this fruition energy of the full moon to be grateful for the harvest that you have created in the past year since we last had a full moon in Virgo. What have you accomplished? What have you achieved? How has your heart grown? Look, I know for one, Virgo, I'm a Pisces rising. So Pisces is here, and Virgo is my 7th house of relationships. And I can absolutely say this last year for me has been a perfecting of my attitude towards committed partnership. It's been refined, it's been purified in many ways, and it's up-leveled to a next stage, a next evolutionary rung on the ladder. That's what's happened for me. Certainly in the last year, boom, absolute big step towards more perfection with relationships for me. Now, it's in no way am I there yet. I mean, we never get there yet. But I want to celebrate at the full moon how far I've come with my perspective on relationships and my capacity to have and be in a committed relationship. How about you? If you know where Virgo falls in your chart, it could well be that that's the area of life that you have perfected over the past 12 months. Let's say Virgo is your 5th house. We'd be down here somewhere in your own chart, and whole sign astrology. Well, it might be that you're perfecting your relationship with your children and your ability to interact with young people in a healthy, invigorated, blessed way. That might have grown for you over the last year. If Virgo happens to be the 10th house and you've got Sagittarius as your rising sign, Virgo would be your 10th house in whole sign astrology. You might have been perfecting career over the last year, and your career expression, and how your career is supporting you and creating a legacy for you to leave. And so you look at how far you've come with that this year. This is where wherever Virgo is where we've been perfecting things for the last 12 months or so. So celebrate that. One of the things that can happen in a Virgo full moon period is that we can drop a few pounds. Well, we don't use pounds in Australia, but that's probably the best, easiest explanation. Kilos, if you're using Australian terminology. We can drop a few pounds when the moon is full in Virgo. So do keep an eye on the scales or how well the clothes are fitting, because we can notice a bit of a difference at this time. I'd also encourage you with a full moon in Virgo to take care of your digestive tract. Look at how you're practicing gut health. I have been myself over the last few weeks last couple of months on a nutrition program with Alberto Villoldo, and it's been brilliant for altering my gut health, and I'm really entering into this time of full moon in Virgo without any candida issues in my gut, no sugar cravings, feeling much more alive and blossoming because I've really paid attention to what I'm eating and my digestive health over the past few months. So around this time of the full moon in Virgo, it's a good time to pay attention to your digestive health and look at your diet, what you're eating, how you're taking care of your body through the fuel that you're giving it. So do go down that road and do a bit of research, or look up Alberto Villoldo yourself, find out about his program, or whatever works for you. Go to your local health food shop and get some supplements or something, whatever you need, and look at your diet, review your diet at this time. Coupled with that, Virgo is a practical sign. It's very oriented to how are we fixing things? How are we making things work in our life? And because it's an earth sign about grounded earthly matter and reality of bodily experience on the planet, it's a time for being very practically oriented when the moon is in Virgo full. So combined at this time as it is with the sun in conjunct Neptune. So this full moon is taking place while the sun is still very close in very tight orb with Neptune. This is a beautiful time for enacting compassion. And the reason that is because both Pisces and Virgo are quite compassionate, charitable signs. Virgo is the sign of service to the world. How can I practically serve in a material sense? How can I make people's lives better? How can I heal them? How can I get them out of debt? How can I educate them more? It's those very practical service industries are seen from the sign of Virgo. And so when this full moon is occurring with a Sun-Neptune conjunction, we're going to be looking at compassionate service. How are we serving humanity in a compassionate, loving way? This is going to be quite at the forefront, either in our minds or in what we encounter energetically out in the world. Now, because Virgo is all about making things better, it's a really good time for organizing and structuring things to make things better in your own life in a practical sense. So that might be creating a new budget, might be creating a new routine, as I alluded to a moment ago, might be looking at a new diet, new exercise routine. And especially when here's Mercury here, when Mercury is retrograding, it's a great time to be reanalyzing, reassessing, reworking our daily routines, making plans for how, I'm going to start getting on this new health kick diet exercise program, or I'm going to, I'm going to reinvigorate my budget. And we can look and make plans and organize and structure things now for our daily living. And Mercury retrograde supports that with the full moon in Virgo. Mercury is also the ruler of the sign of Virgo, so they're very closely aligned and closely linked in the type of energy that they have. Mercury retrograde means we're going inward and looking and thinking and pondering and focusing on the structure rather than putting the action outward, putting the energy out into the world. We're now drawing it in. So it's a good time for planning and reorganizing in that sense. The final thing during this full moon in Virgo that I want people to be aware of is to look at your words. As I said, Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. Mercury is how we speak, how we communicate. In Virgo, it is known, as I said earlier, for being a very critical sign. So you want to double check your words during the full moon in Virgo. What words are you giving out to the universe, to the world, to the people around you that you interact with that are creating your world? Are you giving out criticism? Are you giving out negativity? Are you giving out judgment and harshness to the people around you? And to yourself. Are you being self-critical? Are you being harsh towards yourself with your words or your thinking about yourself and your life and your world and your experience? Really step out of yourself, detach a bit and look, what am I saying? What am I expressing here communicatively? Yes, I want to perfect myself. Yes, I want to perfect the lives of the people I care about. But how am I going about it? Am I being critical or am I being encouraging? During Pisces Virgo season, it's a very good time to assess this. Pisces is kind of the opposite of Virgo in this. Pisces is no boundaries, but it's very much Pisces energy is a very encouraging energy. As I said, it's ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is expansive, it's prosperous, it's full of blessing and abundance. It's encouraging, it's uplifting, it's optimistic. So its words are like that. Pisces is a very encouraging, supportive sign. Virgo is the opposite, where it wants to perfect and make things right, but we need to be consciously aware of what words we're using to do that, to achieve those ends. So make sure you observe and notice how you are going about doing that. And maybe, knowledge is power. Be conscious of pulling yourself up. If you're about to criticize, think, how can I reword this "you never pick your undies up off the floor, why don't you pick your undies up off the floor" sentence? How can I change that sentence around to be more uplifting? Maybe I could instead say, "I love it when you pick your undies up off the floor." And it's less finger pointing and more sharing of needs and more positive and more sort of upbeat in your approach. So it might just mean stopping, thinking before you talk, before you process a thought in your mind and take it as legit. If you're into Eckhart Tolle, he's so much about it's just a voice in your head. If you've got criticism in your head about yourself, about your life, about other people, it's just a voice. It's not necessarily the reality. It's not necessarily something you need to pay attention to. That's just the voice in my head telling me that I can't cook this dinner properly. Forget it. I'm going to go and cook this dinner, and it's learning to not pay attention to that critical voice in the head. These are the themes, and I know I've talked on and on here, but these are the themes that we will notice coming out with a Virgo full moon this week. Full moons are either a culmination point where things culminate, reach their fullness, reach their fruition, or they are a crisis point if we haven't done the work. Like I said, and analyze, how far have you come over the last year since there was last a full moon in Virgo? And you'll see it'll either bring about a crisis point in your life. Oh my God, I need to improve this because I just am not where I want to be. Or you will look and realize at your life and realize this is the culmination of all the beautiful work you've done on yourself or your environment or your home or your family or whatever. over the last year. And you'll see the culmination of the work you've put in. You might even like to sow seeds now for what you hope to reap in a year's time at the next full moon in Virgo. There is a need with every full moon to integrate opposite energies. I mean, I have a son with who was born on the exact dot of a full moon. This young man is learning, I'm putting this kindly, he is learning to integrate the polarity of his full moon into his life. It means he can be quite antagonistic at times and a bit of a provocateur, trying to sort of use the people around him, his teachers and me and his brothers and sisters, as a sounding board for integration. So people born under full moons have a very fascinating energy and sometimes a bit Jekyll and Hyde. They can be a bit of a provocateur until they mature and learn to integrate their lunar and solar energies. Now, to a lesser extent, those of us who aren't born under a full moon, but experiencing the sun, moon, experience of Virgo Pisces, we're learning to integrate Virgo energy and Pisces energy into our personal life. I've talked about what that looks like with these signs, but it's also going to play out in the house where you have Virgo and Pisces in your natal chart. But now we're going to go through all the signs, and instead I often, like at every full moon, I tend to talk about the integration of these two and the houses, and you've heard me talk about that before. So I'm going to do something a little different. Instead of focusing on the full moon energy for all signs this week, I'm instead going to focus on the Sun conjunct Neptune annual experience that we have and where that is playing out at the moment in your natal chart, therefore how it will likely affect you or the energy you'll notice most. So this is for all signs. I'm using whole sign astrology. So what is happening here is I'm using your rising sign, which then sets up how everything else falls in the chart. Hopefully people watch the intro so I don't have to repeat that over and over and over for all signs. It does get rather exhausting after a while to be doing that just because people jump to their sign and don't listen to the intro. But we will start with Aries. This is putting the Sun conjunct, I'll use my little pointer. It's putting the Sun conjunct with Neptune here in the 12th house for Aries. So if you are Aries rising, want to consider your sun and moon as well. If you would like to, you can do that. But mainly for Aries rising, it's putting the energy of the Sun conjunct Neptune in the 12th house. This is the area of life you're going to feel more sensitized. This is the area of life where you will need to focus escaping in order to keep your vitality buoyant. This is the area of life you will have to watch out for low vibrating people in. So in the 12th house, it means you'll be very sensitive to hidden energies. You'll be sensitive to the divine, the spiritual. It's quite beautiful for you, Aries people. You guys are going to be very tuned in to creative downloads. You're going to receive messages from spirit. You might even, have really profound dreams at this time. So keep a pen and paper by the bed to write down your dreams, to write down the messages from spirit that come through in the dream state or the imagination state. So that's where you're going to be very sensitized. You'll also be looking to escape through 12th house things. Spirituality, creativity, taking a retreat of some kind is very important for Aries rising people. So you might like to, if you've got the opportunity to do so, go overseas. Maybe you live in England, you can go spend the weekend in Paris. Go overseas if you've got the chance, or if you don't, you might like to go to the beach. I live in Australia, we're surrounded by oceans. It's a bit of a hike for me to get to the beach, but it would be a nice thing to do on this coming weekend for anyone who's Aries rising and has access to the ocean or the beach. If you don't, a lake will suffice, a river is fine, or you might just look to have a soak in the bath. But some sort of escapism that has to do with water, because your 12th house is this watery Pisces energy. And you might also look to escape simply by having a bit of a holiday or a break. Any type of escapism works well for Aries rising people under this energy. The final thing is to watch out for low vibrating people that are your hidden enemies. So if something's hidden, it's hard to see them. It's hard to realize that they're there. But this is the house of hidden enemies. People who, you don't know, but they've got your back. They're like the Bates guy in Psycho. You don't know that he's actually your enemy. Or somebody at work who's gossiping behind your back. Or some family member who's trying to undermine you for some bizarre reason. People who are doing detrimental, deceptive, destructive things in your life with a hidden agenda. You got to watch out for this. Now, as I said, watching out for it can be a difficult thing to do when we're talking about things that are hidden. So do be careful. Perhaps it's easiest if you just watch out for low vibrating people. People who just when you're around them, you get a sense, remember your intuition is going to be heightened at this time. Watch out for people you get a sense are not in your favor. Trust your intuition about those people now, these low vibrating kinds of people, and avoid them. Don't speak to them. Don't send them text messages. Don't interact with them. Just steer clear, set boundaries, and avoid low vibrating people at this time because they could be your hidden enemies. All right. For Taurus rising people, this is putting the Sun and Neptune conjunction falling in your 11th house. So this is the realm where you're going to be highly sensitized, where you're going to have to watch out for low vibrating people. And it's also the realm where you can choose to escape in order to channel the best manifestation of this energy. So for you guys, it's in the 11th house. You're going to have to watch out for low vibrating friends in the 11th house. So maybe you've got a beautiful group that you're part of, a social circle, social scene, and there's just someone in that group, an acquaintance, a friend, who just makes you feel like crap. And they bring you down, or they're always complaining, they're always negative, and you're just like, oh, whenever I'm in their company, it's just so hard because they're so anti-men, or they're so they hate their boss and that's all they ever talk about, and they just won't talk about any other topic about how bad their life is, and the sort of people. This is a week for avoiding that, for putting boundaries in place and saying, hang on, I'm not going out for coffee with her, or I just don't want to have to see him this week. Put that boundary in place with your friends that are low vibrating. It doesn't mean you have to end the friendship. No. Although Neptune here for you guys by transit over this 14-year period of Neptune moving through Pisces will be dissolving sort of low vibrating friendships that you don't need. But generally speaking, for Taurus rising people, it's a week. This energy is a time for just putting some boundaries in place with low vibrating friendships. This is also where you're going to feel more sensitive. So your dreams, your visions, your aspirations, you're going to be very sensitized and intuitive about these things. So maybe you've always dreamed of, writing a magnificent novel or a beautiful science manual or whatever it is that you want. You've got this aspiration, you've this dream. Now you might be getting some particular downloads from spirit, downloads from the divine about how to enact that, how to make that work. An idea for a new chapter of your book, or a new focus for your research or something. So pay attention to those prods from spirit, because we are more sensitized with our intuition and our psychic downloads at this time. And for you, it'll be to do with your aspirations, your dreams, your goals, what you want in your life. So trust your intuition now for those things. So finally, escapism to keep your vitality buoyant. Your vitality is represented by the Sun, and Neptune is escapism. So to manifest the higher levels of Sun conjunct Neptune, you want to do healthy escapism. For you, this might be going away for a weekend with your your best mates, the high vibrating friends that you've got, taking some time out to do something in a group. Maybe you're part of a sailing club, and take the time to go and connect with those people in the sailing group and go out sailing or whatever. And maybe you're part of some sort of activist group, compassionate humanitarian organization. So it can be time to reconnect with those people now, or some political movement or something that you're very passionate about. And so this is your form of escapism. Maybe there's a march or a rally on down the center of town, and you really believe in what they're marching for and what they're protesting. It's actually a form of escapism, because it's not your everyday routine, possibly not your everyday routine, to go and attend a rally for the environment or for financial equality or something. Maybe that's not what you usually do every day. So going and being part of this group activity of humanitarian cause, it's actually a form of escape from the ordinary everyday reality of your life. So that is actually one of the energies you can channel that's very Neptune Sun at this time. So look for ways to escape into group activities or with friends, coffee down the street, or go to a day spa with a girlfriend or something. And this will keep your vitality buoyant by getting away from the ordinary everyday in a very 11th house manner. Also for you guys, daydreaming about your goals and dreams and aspirations and ambitions is a good thing to do. So take the time out to maybe journal about it, or sit on the couch with a herbal tea and just go off into fantasy land about your dreams and goals and aspirations. Very well supported at this time. Gemini, beautiful Gemini people, Gemini rising. This puts the energy of the sun and Neptune into your 10th house. And so this is where you're going to have to focus on consciously putting boundaries and avoiding low vibrating people. It's the house where you're going to have to focus on escaping in order to keep your vitality buoyant, and the house where you're going to feel more sensitive. So you will be more sensitized to what you should do with your career, how to activate your career, how to create a legacy that you'll be known for. It's a time when you'll receive psychic downloads and intuitive insights regarding what you should do for your career. Maybe you have been aspiring to be, some manager or some CEO in your company or something like that. And with this energy, you'll get a aha moment. Okay, if I undertake this project and I do this particular thing in this particular project, that can get me the promotion that I've been longing for, that aspirational, leadership position. So you'll get epiphanies, you'll get psychic downloads, and it'll be like they've come from the divine into your life regarding how to activate and further your career and your worldly achievement. Trust your intuition on those things at the moment. Now that can manifest in a million ways. I've given you a sort of a very conservative, commercial kind of, institutionalized approach. And with Pisces as your 10th house, it's probably not your ultimate career realm is to be in the conservative corporate environment. Pisces as a 10th house for Gemini people can tend to indicate you'll actually be more aligned to spiritual stuff, creative stuff, filmmaking, all that sort of thing. But that was the example that popped into my head. So you might have an aspiration, let's use filmmaking, you might have an aspiration to make a certain film, and through this energy of Sun conjunct Neptune, you get this epiphany of, you read a book and it's like, oh my God, I want to make this into a film. This is like the gold, I want to buy the rights to this book. I want to make this film because it's brilliant. This story is, it's the stuff, it's the shit, So trust your intuition now. Trust this sensitive connection to your higher self that will be playing out, helping you to achieve in high realms in life. The sun is also connected to being a leader and being at the forefront and shining your glory. So for Gemini rising, it's a very powerful time to have the sun in the 10th house where it has great directional strength. You guys are very blessed. with this energy for and your intuition now around career advancement. It's also where you should escape to lift your vitality. The sun represents vitality, and in the 10th house, this is where you need to focus. You're escaping to lift your vitality. So one of the things I would recommend for you is taking some time to escape into fantasy land, dreamland, about how you want to achieve. And that's when you'll get these epiphanies and downloads. So, maybe go and buy a coffee, go sit down by the lake and maybe have a journal or dream book or whatever you carry with you, and think, dream, imagine, look up at the sky, the clouds and the birds, and observe the world around you, and go into that imaginative state, focused and meditating on what you want to achieve. What's the legacy that you want to leave the world? What do you want to be known for? What are the aspirations you have for your worldly achievements? And take notes and stuff like that, but allow the imagination to flow. This is where you need to focus your escapism to increase and bless your vitality at this time. Also, this 10th house realm is about sort of the aspirational, high achieving realms. So, and with the sun here, the sun represents the center of something, just like the sun is the center of our solar system. So for you guys, for Gemini rising, escaping to, it sounds odd, but escaping to some elite part of town in the center of the city or the center of the town where you are is actually a great resource for rejuvenating your vitality. So in Melbourne, which is the capital city near where I live, the botanical gardens are in the center of the city, and it's a great place to go. If you are a Gemini rising person, the botanical gardens in the center of the city, grab a coffee and escape in that sort of, it's in sort of one of the most elite suburbs in Melbourne, the botanical gardens right in the center of town. That's the kind of place you need to go to revitalize and do this imaginative process. So wherever you are, there's probably an elite part of town, or at least a street where all the rich people live. You want to go there. If there's a coffee shop, all the better. Go and have a coffee. Or if there's a park, or, even if you take a picnic along with you and sit on the nature strip, it doesn't matter. Just go and be in that elite sort of high level part of town and allow your imagination to flow there, and you will receive intuitive downloads and insights that will come through this heightened Pisces and Neptune sun energy. Finally, this is where you need to watch out for the vipers, the energy suckers, the low vibrating people. And that can be bosses, it can be authority figures, it can be government departments, government institutions, where they're going to drag you down or deceive you in some way. Or basically, this is where you need to put boundaries. So yeah, you're going to want to go hang out in the upper crust areas of town as a source of escape. You might want to go to a day spa there or something like that. But you're going to need to have some good boundaries in place from these authoritative, higher, level people. Just because they're higher in material level, very material house, the 10th house, doesn't mean they're higher in vibration. Often it's the other way around. So good boundaries from negative bosses, or good boundaries from people in authority who seek to sort of undermine you or deceive you or something is necessary now. Be conscious, be aware of this, and give yourself the space that you need from these kinds of people to have a better week, a better, energetic, vibrating week yourself. All right, enough for Gemini. The next sign, Cancer, is putting Sun and Neptune energy up here in the luckiest house in the horoscope, the 9th house. This is a lovely energy to have in the 9th house. This is where you're going to feel more sensitized. This is where you're going to have focus your escaping to keep your vitality up. It's where you're going to have to watch out for low vibrating people also at this time, as I said in the intro. So For a start, you're going to be more sensitized and therefore more intuitive. And this is a very intuitive kind of a house. It's a house associated with philosophies, idealism, religious and spiritual thoughts and beliefs and trust and faith. So your faith, your belief, your intuition is going to be heightened with regard to higher knowledge, spiritual insights, philosophical downloads. It's likely that at this time, Sun conjunct with Neptune, that you're going to get aha moments and epiphanies regarding your beliefs, regarding philosophical approaches to living. And so you can really get a lot of beneficial, almost guru-like insights that come and flow into your life from other realms, from the divine realms at this time. So watch out for those happening and give yourself opportunity for those things to happen by escaping ordinary reality. And how you'll want to do this is by escaping into beliefs and faith or other cultures even. So this is a really good couple of days for Cancer. For Cancer rising people to read spiritual books, to grab a book by Osho or the Bhagavad Gita or something and really get stuck into it, because you're going to get lots of value out of it, lots of downloads, lots of insights out of doing that sort of thing now. So grab that book, jump on the couch, get your hot chocolate and just spend an afternoon getting stuck into belief and faith. It's the ultimate source of escapism for you right now that could really bless magically your life. You may also like to escape through listening to some sort of mentor or guru online. This is a house of mentors and gurus, inspirational people. So jump on YouTube, find somebody who really does it for you. Get stuck into their wisdom and be encouraged and uplifted by that as a form of escapism. You can do that when you're out walking, listening to a podcast, or out in the garden or driving somewhere. That can be a really great source of escapism that brings you this intuitive download. Also, this is a house of other cultures. So you mightn't have the opportunity to go overseas or to go into another cultural environment like another country, but you can go and maybe have dinner at the Vietnamese restaurant, or you might go and have, Italian for dinner, or go to some celebration of, Chinese New Year or something that's coming up. That's a little way ahead, but some sort of cultural celebration is a great form of escapism right now, because escapism simply means being out of your ordinary everyday circumstances. So eating something new, being in a different cultural environment in whatever level, is a brilliant form of escapism that can really bless your life at this time. Finally, watch out for low vibrating people. Now, if you go online, there are a million people who've set themselves up as gurus, as life coaches, as mentors and inspirational figures. Are all of them manifesting at a high vibrating level? The answer is no, they're not. Be careful of being deceived at this time. Neptune's lower manifesting energy, and the lower manifesting energy of Pisces, is deception, having the wool pulled over your eyes. So do be careful at this time of being deceived by leaders. Sun represents leadership, who set themselves up as mentors and gurus. False mentors, false gurus, anything fake, Neptune is fake, rules anything fake, can present themselves in your life right now. And this is where you need to have good discernment and put good boundaries in place so you don't fall prey and victim to these lower vibrating energies. So keep conscious awareness and you'll do well. Leo. Lovely Leo. I adore Leo people. Leo rising people, and if you want to know Sun and Moon as well, you can take that on board too, but really this works best in whole sign astrology with the rising sign. This energy of Neptune conjunct with the Sun is falling in your 8th house. So this is where you're going to be highly sensitized if you're a Leo person. This is where you need to focus healthy escapism this week. And this is where you need to watch out for lower vibrating people. So Leo, 8th house is where you're going to feel more sensitized. For you guys, your capacity to get insights from other realms or downloads from other entities and energies is off the Richter scale this week. If you have strong Leo rising, you can really, do a past life regression and really get into it, really go there, really discover something amazing this week about you and yourself. Any type of psychological insights can also come up now where you really take what's at the core, at the depth of you, and transform it. So it's very much about being sensitized in those realms and very intuitive in those realms. So expect psychic downloads. Expect that this will be a week where you will get insights that might be coming from past lives or insights that are coming from other entities. Now, do be careful. I might jump to the lower vibrating energy topic just now. This 8th house represents the darker forces that are out there. It's also the high vibrating energy forces that are in mysticism and spiritualism, the beautiful things, those kind of high esoteric energies. But this is also an area where there is the darker force. The shadow side here is the darker energies, the darker forces, the evil, if you want to call them that, evil people. So you guys have to have, if you're Leo rising, good boundaries in place this week to avoid being brought down into sort of like the criminal underworld or some sort of dark energetic attacks and that sort of thing. So while there's great capacity for intuition this week with this energy, there's also great capacity to get sort of psychic attacks. So if you are somebody who likes to practice rituals, you might like to put rituals in place. You might like to practice visualization. Neptune, Pisces, Sun is intuition, that and imagination. So you can visualize putting psychic protection boundaries in your sphere, in your realm. Call on the angels, call on the higher realms, call on Artemis or Jupiter or whatever to energetically enter your field and protect you from psychic attack during this week. Because what Neptune and Pisces conjunct with the Sun, what they are bringing is a thinning of those veils between the energetic realms for you guys this week. So do be careful. Be careful of being deceived by people who seem to have your best interest at heart, but really they don't. Watch out for being deceived by those people. Also, watch out, as I said, for the darker energies or the criminal energies sort of wanting to sort of get through, because Neptune and its shadow side can bring about sort of deceptions, deceit, fakeness, people who are faking their friendship with you or their connection with you in some way. So watch out for that. But the positive energy here is those beautiful downloads and epiphanies and spiritual shamanic realizations that transform your life very powerfully, very dynamically. For you guys, Leo rising, you stand to be most transformed by this Sun, Neptune energy and by the full moon that's occurring this week also. Finally, this is the realm you need to focus on if you want to buoy up and increase your vitality this week. So what does that look like? Well, it might mean going and doing a shamanic ritual. It might mean connecting with a shaman or an energy healer or Reiki healer. It might mean going and seeing a past life regressionist or doing a past life regression in the comfort of your own home. So escapism, healthy escapism, is taking yourself out of the ordinary everyday environment. So going and having a Reiki session, that's not something you do every day. Most people don't do it every day. So that is a form of healthy, revitalizing escapism. Remember to put your boundaries in place and choose a Reiki practitioner wisely, but that would be one example. You might like to also escape into, some sort of reading about shamanism, or you might like to escape into some psychological reading as well. Get stuck into some Carl Jung, or looking at, I don't know, ancient Socrates or Epicurus or something like that, which is very much going to teach you new psychological things about yourself, some insights about humanity and you and your approach to things, because this is a very psychological house. Also doing therapy as a form of escapism right now as well. And with Pisces as your 8th house, dance is a form of therapy that works wonders for Leo rising people. Check out 5 Rhythms. I talk about these guys all the time. I love them. They've been so empowering in my life. 5 Rhythms have YouTube videos online and centers all over the world. Healthy escapism through dance therapy. Brilliant for Leo rising people at the moment. So do seek escapism through those healthy methods. You guys are going to have a great week this week because of if you get involved in those things. All right, so Virgo people, well, hello, happy full moon to you Virgo people, your month for a full moon. But this is putting the energy of Neptune and Sun, which is what I'm focusing on in this All Signs review. If you want to know about the full moon, check out my intro if you haven't done so already. But this energy of Sun, Neptune falls in your 7th house. So this is where you will need to have healthy escapism to buoy your vitality this week. This is where you're going to be very sensitized. And this is where you're going to have to watch out for lower vibrating people. So here in Pisces, your 7th house, this is where you're going to feel more sensitive. You're going to be sensitized to the interactions with your partner, with any business partners and marriage partners, to sensitive regarding your relationships with clients as well. You'll also be highly intuitive about your relationships with clients, and highly intuitive and switched on with your relationship with business partners and with your spouse or marriage partner if you have one. So be trusting, I guess, of your instincts at this time. Pay attention to your innermost thoughts and feelings about your relationships in the world. Like I said, marriages, business partnerships, clients, and so on. Be very switched on. This is the realm that you're going to be very sensitive. So if someone can push your buttons a bit in this realm, equally you're going to have a lot of insights, a lot of downloads, a lot of epiphanies that come from your interactions with these other people. Your relationships with other people are going to trigger these things happening in your life this week. Also, this is the realm that you can escape in order to buoy your vitality. And you can do this by sharing connection with another person. So it's in doing something in union with another person that you can actually be most revitalized this week, Virgo people, Virgo rising people. I would suggest, going and having a picnic with somebody you care about. That could be your business partner, but it could be, maybe you've got a client that you've really bonded with and become very close to. Go and have a picnic with them, or go out for a swim with them somewhere. Go to the beach with them. Do something enjoyable and pleasurable with another person, and you will be channeling the highest manifestation of Neptune, Sun, Pisces energy, which is to escape the ordinary, everyday reality of life in healthy ways. So if you've got nothing set up at the moment, find somebody to go and share a beautiful experience with, where you can escape the ordinary, everyday, mundane realities. Very healthy, especially in full moon Virgo season, for you to actually go and do this. The final thing I want to mention is that you need to watch out for low vibrating people coming from the 7th house. So let's, for example, say that your partner's gone a bit depressed lately, been a bit low, been a bit moody. And now this can be your marriage partner, but it can also be a business partner. Maybe you're running your own business and you partner with someone who's your advertising manager or something, or they run your social media campaigns, or maybe you've got somebody who is doing your tax for you. It can also be clients and audience that we see from the 7th house. So if you are encountering clients who are shitty and moody and a real pain in the neck, you've got to have good boundaries for that. Maybe some member of your audience leaves a really a rude and abusive comment on your YouTube channel. Well, hey, Boundaries. Block and delete that person. Don't even think twice. You've got to have good boundaries in place this week, or else lower vibrating people will suck your energy, and they will they could deceive you. They could pull the wool over your eyes in some way, and that could cause a lot of detriment down the track. You've got to have conscious awareness about these people at this time in this year of our lives. So do be aware, Virgo rising people, and put the appropriate boundaries in place with others. If your spouse is complaining or your business partner's moody, whatever, you need to have boundaries there as well. It doesn't mean, the marriage is over, that's the end. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, you know what? You've been a bit moody lately. I'm going to just take, a weekend away with my best friend. All right? So, let's have some space. Let's put a boundary there, because I'm a bit tired and worn out from the negativity. It's doing those sorts of things that are all about honoring the self, honoring you, and putting appropriate boundaries in place for yourself at this time to sort of alleviate the impact of lower vibrating people. It's necessary when you've got Sun and Neptune making a conjunction in your 7th house. So Libra rising people, this week, the Sun-Neptune conjunction in Pisces is falling in your 6th house. This is where you're going to be highly sensitized. This is where, if you're Libra rising, you're going to be needing to focus on healthy escapism. And this is where you're going to have to watch out for lower vibrating people. So here in the 6th house, you're going to be very sensitive about your daily routine, about, how you are living your life. So you might get intuitive epiphanies and downloads and insights about how to improve your diet, your exercise, your daily routine, the way your life is running, or you might get an epiphany about how to budget better or deal with your money bills and all those sort of everyday ordinary sort of things that we need to focus our attention on pretty regularly. So you'll get some insights there. You'll get some intuition about how to deal with those things better. Trust your gut instinct. If you've got a gut instinct that says, you know what, I just think I need to stop eating bread this week because I've been feeling really gluggy. I just feel like it might be because of the bread that I'm eating. So, I'll see what happens. I'll try for a week and see. Trust that intuition. If that's what you're feeling, and your Libra rising, it is most likely coming from Neptune conjunct with Sun in Pisces that's calling you to, it's giving you a sensitization around your diet, health, and well-being. Trust it. Listen to that instinct and make the changes. See what happens. Okay, so it's really simple. This is not rocket science. This is just listening to your intuitive self regarding everyday ordinary things. So the second thing that I want to mention, if you're Libra rising with this energy, is that this is where you want to escape. So for you guys this week, you might seek some healthy escapism through exercise, through, going for a walk by a lake in the evening, or, getting stuck into the gym, or reactivating your running program, or, you want to escape into some sort of healthy, enjoyable exercise. Now, some of us aren't geared for sort of the vigorous marathon exercise programs that others do, but I'm saying whatever works beautifully for you, do it. Get stuck into it this week, because it will serve to help revitalize you and re-energize you. So that could mean just going for a cruisy bike ride in the evening, just for, meandering down a country road. Could be as simple as that. It could be, like I said, taking a walk by a lake, something pleasurable, but exercise as a form of escape. Also in the 6th house, spending time with animals can be a beautiful source of escape if you've got the opportunity to do that. So taking your dog for a walk, make sure you invest time to do that this week with the Sun in conjunction with Neptune in Pisces, because that's going to revitalize you doing that. Or if, let's say, you run a sheep farm or something like that, go out and actually spend some enjoyable time, with the animals, with your dogs, with your whatever. Go out into nature, into the environment, and observe, what the local dogs are doing. I'm going to go down to your local dog park if you don't have one yourself, and just sit and watch them, sit and enjoy their play. I went for a walk last night around a lake where I live, and everybody was out walking their dogs, and I'd stop to pat some. I don't have a dog of my own, but stop and pat them, and talk to them and interact with them. This is a beautiful form of escapism for Libra rising people at the moment that you can really utilize at this time as a source of revitalizing your energy. So this is also the realm of life where you want to watch out for lower vibrating energy suckers and people who, want to pull the wool over your eyes and deceive you, because Neptune represents deceit in its lower manifestation, fake people. So this is the house of our enemies. People who want to stab us in the back, and they're not hidden enemies. These are the ones we know about, the ex-wife who's trying to take us to the cleaners. It's the ex-employee who now wants to go you for work cover or compensation for some injury or something. It's people who are being mean and nasty for the hell of it, okay? You've got to put good boundaries in place with these people, these obvious enemies in your life. Put the boundaries in place now. Otherwise, they're going to suck your vitality. They're going to bring low vibration into your realm. And really what we're all about here on the planet is lifting the vibration to higher levels to save the planet and humanity, I might add, but that's a whole other topic. But yeah, so put good boundaries in place with the people who want to pull the wool over your eyes, people who want to deceive you, people who want to smash you. You've got to have strong boundaries now. And you might get a reminder that occurs in your life that you need to have good boundaries in place. Don't trust that ex-wife any further than you can throw her. Make sure that you have the good boundaries in place so that you can navigate through this energy with a better outcome. Keep your high vibration. Don't let them suck you down into their depths. Have good mental boundaries, good psychological boundaries in place so that when you get that next letter from the lawyer, from your ex-wife's lawyer or whatever, it's not going to send you into a spin. Having a good sort of, okay, that freaked me out for 10 minutes. Right. On with the show. I know how I'm going to deal with this, how I will now act, and it's not going to ruin my day. It's not going to bring my energy down. Look, this can even be the lower vibrating people who cut you off in traffic. It doesn't have to be a regular enemy who's in your face. It can be just someone you encounter in your daily life. You've got to have a good boundary now that protects you from their, the dude who, cut in front of you in traffic and, gave you the bird as he went past. You got to have a good boundary that says I can recover quickly from this low vibrating energy so that my day is not ruined because of their poor behavior, So good boundaries are essential now, and then there might be a situation where that gets triggered for you this week. But if knowledge is power, if you know that, hey, I'm going to get back on track, you'll do much better. But yeah, all in all, a highly, it could be quite a beneficial week, especially if you focus your energy into healthy escapism that can support your journey. So the next energy is Scorpio rising. And Scorpio rising people, this energy is being placed into your 5th house. This is a lovely spot to have Neptune Sun conjunction at the moment. And this is where you're going to feel more sensitive, where you'll need to escape in order to keep your vitality high, and where you're going to want to watch out for low vibrating energy and people. So you're going to be very sensitized around creative expression. It's in expressing things creatively that you are actually going to see some miraculous results this week. You will get intuitive downloads that you've never had. It's a week to channel divine energy, especially if you work in creative fields. You really need to get your game on with your creative expression, because this is the time when you're going to just do that painting that's the best you've ever done, or write that piece of your novel that's just beyond what you thought you could do as a writer, or any type of like creative self-expression, performance. You put together a one-act play, or you might write a brilliant comedy sketch, or whatever it is that's your creative outlet. This is the week where it's going to come from other realms, where it's going to be channeled from the divine. So trust your instincts around that. If you're being told, you feel a sense of, I think I need to write a comedy sketch about the local kooky man down the street and his behavior or whatever, and then go down that road, write that comedy sketch, and do it, because this epiphany that you'll be getting is coming from the divine realms, and you need to trust that. So you're going to be more sensitive in that area and more intuitive in the area of creativity. It's also into your creative realms and your hobbies that you will need to escape this week in order to boost your vitality and your energy. So you might have a train set up in your garage with all, I would love to have this myself. So, with all like little miniature town and a railway line and a little lake and, the whole big cool, well, I think it's cool. It's probably quite dorky. Miniature railway that's set up in your garage or a spare room or something. Go there. That's going to boost your vitality this week, to get involved in your hobbies and enjoy them and have pleasure, have fun. The ultimate source of escapism. And Neptune in Pisces conjunct with the sun's about doing healthy escapism to boost your sun vitality. So go there, get into your hobbies, do your woodworking, do your knitting, do your model train sets or whatever it happens to be, and enjoy it, because that is beautiful escapism for you. Romance is also a source of escapism for Scorpio rising people this week. So make your life romantic, whether that's with a partner or yourself. Run that bath with candles and a glass of wine or some chocolates as you lie there and just indulge in a pleasurable experience of escapism that's quite a romantic scenario. Go out for that candlelit dinner with your lover if you have that opportunity. Enjoy that romantic tete-a-tete. Set it up. Romance is one of the most creative things we can do with another people. To create a romantic experience is highly creative, and this is the house of creativity. Finally, this is where we need to watch out for low vibrating people. Now, I hate to say it, but this can sometimes be our children and it can sometimes be our lovers. Sometimes we're with people, and we ourselves can be this way too, so I'm not judging, but people who are vibrating at a low level that just exhaust us. Maybe our daughter has been shitty for days and you're just like, I'm so over her low vibrating energy. Well, I want to encourage you at this time, put boundaries in place with that, It's a time, Sun conjunct Neptune in Pisces, for putting protective boundaries in place with low vibrating energy from your children and from your lovers. And maybe that's simply saying, look, I've had enough of this low vibrating energy. I'm going out for a walk and I won't be home for a couple of hours. I might even go down to the local coffee shop, but I'm having some space, putting a boundary. I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm not your punching bag. I'm out of here. I'm going to go have a break. Have some space, put some boundaries in place. If you have to get tough and say, I'm not tolerating this behavior any longer, that's it. Do that as well. So you might find that this is the time for putting boundaries in place with that low vibrating energy that sometimes comes along with our children or our lover. Okay, if we are a Sagittarius rising person, well, this energy for us is falling in our fourth house. This is where Neptune will be conjuncting the sun, and this is where you'll be very sensitized. This will be where you need to escape in a healthy way to keep your vitality high, and this is where you'll need to watch out for any low vibrating energy vampires. So here for for Sagittarius rising people, this is where you're going to feel more sensitive, and you might be highly sensitized towards family relationships or relationships with the mother or the maternal line or the sort of family line in some sense. So watch out for being triggered and being sensitive and a bit too, touchy about relationships in those areas. But it's also an area, this house, the fourth house, where you will be very tuned in psychically and energetically. So you'll be very much in touch with your feelings, sensitized in your feeling self. Trust your intuition at this time because it won't lead you astray. You're going to really receive downloads from the divine that'll come to you in an emotional sense. Let's say, this is the house of our homes, our physical bricks and mortar home. And you walk into your bedroom one day next week and you just get this overwhelming energy of intuitive energy of, oh, you know what? The arrangement of this furniture, it just makes me feel heavy. It makes me feel low. It makes me feel, trust that intuitive. This is a very simple kind of analogy, but trust that intuitive feeling that you're getting and make a change. Change the color of your bedspread or move the furniture around or something, and trust that intuitive energy, that intuitive download that you're getting about your home space or about your emotional connection with your children. This is the house of family and nurturing. So trust if you're getting some intuition about your kids and your parenting dynamic with them. Trust that intuition and make a change. This is where you'll get epiphanies and insights regarding home, domestic life, children, family, maternal line, the lineage that you actually come from as well. You trust your instincts around this because you're going to be highly intuitive, highly psychic and sensitized to these matters. Now, this is also the area where you can seek some escapism in order to revitalize your energy. Any healthy escapism is to just simply remove yourself from the everyday, ordinary world. Now, being in the home is part of your everyday life. You usually spend some hours a day in your home environment. So how do you escape in the home environment? Well, it can be as simple as saying, you know what, this Saturday, I'm not doing any domestic chores whatsoever. I am turning on a movie and I'm watching, the Back to the Future trilogy, one after another. And I don't care what you're doing, everybody else, this is my space. So that could be one way that you do it. You change and escape within your domestic environment from the everyday ordinary routine of cooking, cleaning, washing, blah, blah, blah. It could mean that you take an escape weekend and you go back to where you come from. Like, for example, let's say you were born in Orange County, California, but now you live in New York and you decide, you know what? I'm going to go back home. I'm going to have a 2 days off, a weekend off, and I'm going to go back home, see all my old friends, go to my old high school. I'm going to reconnect with my past. That is a form of healthy escapism that you can utilize this week as well. So getting back in touch with your heritage, your roots, your lineage can be a source of healthy escapism also during this time. And finally, this is the house where we need to watch out for low vibrating energies. And so if your family lineage, your heritage that you come from, your community that you live in is low vibrating in any way, if there's people who are trying to deceive you or pull the wool over your eyes there, you need to put good boundaries in place. Like I had a very darling friend who's had a hell of a time with on the local council where she lives. God, she's been through some shit with this corrupt council, and she has needed to put boundaries in place and say, look, I love my community. I love where I live. I want to better it. I want to be involved in my home, my town, my society, heritage, roots and lineage as well. But I have to say enough's enough because I'm surrounded by low vibrating people here and I'm being deceived and attacked, and I've got to put a boundary and say, no more. I'm walking away from this, or I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. I'm going to court about whatever sort of treatment I've been getting or whatever. But putting a boundary in place regarding community, heritage, kind of, where you come from and their impact in your life, your family, maternal line, or even children as well can sometimes be a fourth house thing. So there might be a need for some sort of boundary to be put in place here, and you need to watch out for those low vibrating energies at this time and put the appropriate boundaries in place if you're a Sagittarius rising. Also mother figures. So sometimes, unfortunately, some mothers don't know how to quite let go of their children, and we might need to put boundaries in place to allow us the space that we need to function as adults as well. And that can be a thing that crops up or bubbles to the surface with a Sun conjunct Neptune energy in the fourth house. Also, the Sun can represent father figures, so it could also be a father figure as well that we're needing to have a boundary with, as well as the mother figure too in the fourth house here. Nearly at the end. I've been talking a lot this week. I think we're going to have a 2-hour video by the way things are going. But here in the sign of Cancer, this is where we're going to see Pisces energy, Neptune and the Sun put into the third house. And so for Capricorn rising people, this is the house where we're going to feel more sensitive. This is where we're going to need to focus some sort of escapism in order to buoy our vitality. And this is the house we're going to need to watch out for lower vibrating energies in our life when the Sun is conjunct Neptune in the third house. So for you guys, you're going to feel more sensitive and therefore more intuitive, more tapped into divine realms when it comes to your communication. So, you might be out with friends and, out having a coffee or out on a picnic or doing something with friends, and you're having a conversation, and suddenly some sort of psychic download comes to you. I think I need to tell my friend Dave there, that particular piece of information. So you tell him and he just looks at you like, oh my God, how did you know? How did you realize that I was going through that particular struggle at the moment? So it's in our communication with others and our networking and our associations with others that you can get epiphanies and downloads, because you are more sensitized to the messages from the divine, the communications from the divine realms. So I want to encourage you, Capricorn people. It doesn't perhaps come quite as easily to you guys, but trust your intuition in your communications this week with people, and allow yourself to go there, to speak what's on your mind, because it's going to be very much tuned in, tapped in. So that's where you're going to be sensitized this week. Trust it. The other thing is that the third house is where you can escape in order to buoy your vitality. The Sun is our vitality. Neptune and Pisces are sources of escape. So you want to do some healthy escapism in these realms. And this is to play. Like, the third house is very connected to how we play. It's our talents, it's our skills. So you might like to escape into employing your talents and abilities in some way. Maybe you've got a real talent for writing. Maybe you've got a real talent for, it might be speaking in some way. So you take an opportunity to converse with somebody, or maybe you might have a real talent, like I said, in writing, so you take some time out from your ordinary everyday routine to write that short story or write that journal article. It doesn't have to be yes, it's the house of play, but it doesn't, Capricorn people can be quite serious people. It doesn't have to be sort of anything frivolous. But with Pisces in the third house, you will actually have a good imagination when it comes to the written word, and you can express quite imaginatively in written dialogue. So take time out to write a fantasy story. Take time out to journal. Take time out to, if you want to write a serious article for something, then take time out to do it. If it's not part of your everyday ordinary routine, because that's what healthy escapism is, taking time out from what we ordinarily do. So as I said a moment ago, speaking to someone, you mightn't have talked to your best friend who lives at the other end of the country for months. And so you give them a ring and you have a chat and you have a conversation as a source of escapism for you. You'll find that it actually buoys up your vitality and the energy that the vibration that you're giving off to the world to do so, to connect, to communicate, to write, to journal, to speak with someone, that sort of stuff. So take that opportunity. It will lift you. And to be playful, like I said, it's a house of play. So have fun. Go see a comedy gig, or go and watch a comedy movie or something. It's a very playful, fun energy. You might like to even play some group sports or something like that, or anything that there's game playing is part of this. Connect with someone, play a game of Monopoly or something like that, Boulder Dash. So have fun, enjoy, and use it as a source of escapism that can buoy your vitality. Finally, this is the realm where you need to watch out for low vibrating energies and put boundaries in place. This can be siblings in the third house, but it can also be co-workers and teammates. So if there's any low vibrating energy with regard to that kind of stuff in your sphere, then put a boundary in place and say, I'm walking away. I'm not having anything to do with that gossip at work from my colleagues, or, my sister's driving me up the wall. I'm not going to answer her phone calls because I need to put a boundary in place. I've had enough. So don't be afraid to put boundaries in place, Capricorn people with low vibrating energies of other people at this time when the sun is conjunct with Neptune in your sign, in your third house rather. Aquarius, age of Aquarius people, I love you guys. This is putting the energy of Sun conjunct Neptune into your second house. This is where you're going to you'll be feeling more sensitized and intuitive this week. This is where you're going to be feeling, you need to put boundaries with regard to low vibrating energies of people. And this is where you're going to need to focus escaping in order to lift your personal vitality and vibration and energy. So firstly, you're going to feel more sensitive around money matters. There might be something that crops up in your life that you realize you're going to have to pay a lot of money or something, and that can make you feel a bit sort of bit antsy. Loss of money can sensitize you. I'm not saying you're going to lose money. That's not what this indicates at all. It can actually even be quite the opposite. Neptune represents magic and the magical manifestation of things, and the sun is a highly manifesting planet. So you could manifest money, but there will be a sensitivity around financial matters and resources in some way this week. You could also be highly intuitive about resources. You might suddenly get an epiphany that comes from the divine about how to invest your money, about where to not place bets, but what shares to buy, what stock to invest in. You might get an epiphany about how you can make more money in your everyday life in some way, or some sort of creative project you can undertake that could provide you with a lot of revenue or something. So watch out and pay attention to your intuition this week, Aquarius rising people, because your epiphanies are to be trusted at this time. They will be coming to you from the divine realms as a source of opportunity and guidance that you can grasp and run with. So listen to your inner guidance regarding how to work with resources and money and spending and so on, and go with it. Now, this is also where you will need to focus your energies to have a buoyed vitality through escapism. Healthy escapism. And this is a house of pleasure and sensuality. So it's in these realms that you can actually focus your energy to have a sense of escapism. Going and having a beautiful dinner, going out to a restaurant, or just cooking a lovely dinner at home can be a source of escapism. If you usually have meat and 3 veg every night for dinner at home, then on this day, when Neptune conjuncts the sun, as I mentioned in my intro, you can go and make that gourmet 3-course meal and lose yourself in that process if you enjoy cooking as a source of escapism. Or you might decide to put those satin sheets on the bed because it just feels so nice. So anything sensual, wear that velvet vest that you love, or, you might like to burn a special new brand of incense that you've got. And these sensual experiences can be a source of escapism for us if it takes us out of our ordinary everyday habits and routine. Do that and you'll find your vitality will be buoyed and blessed this week if you're an Aquarius rising person. Also, if you know somebody who's an Aquarius rising person, this can be a really great endeavor to sort of help them lift their vitality by, giving them a more sensual experience in some realm of life. That can be a gift to an Aquarius rising person to help buoy their vitality at the moment. And finally, it's in the second house that Aquarius rising people need to watch out for low vibrating energies and low vibrating people. Now, the second house doesn't have direct correlations with particular persons or people. In Vedic, it does correlate to the second life partner, but then that's obviously not applicable for everybody. Here, though, we need to watch out for people who want to deceive us with our money. That would be what I would be looking out for if you're Aquarius rising. People who want to take you to the cleaners, people who want to, try to sort of scam you, that sort of thing. You need to watch out and be consciously aware of those people in your field right now. And you need to put appropriate boundaries in place. So you may not want to go buying anything online that seems a bit dodgy right now, because those people it could be some scammers or Nigerian goodness knows what that are wanting to deceive you and take your money with Neptune conjunct Sun in the second house right now. So just to have appropriate boundaries in place, act with caution and care around those sorts of interactions, and you will be able to do so much better and keep your vibration high rather than have the rug pulled out from under you by some financial deception that you experience. So that's what I'm seeing for Aquarius rising people this week. Finally, Pisces rising people. Thank you for enduring to the end, you gorgeous Pisces people. I do love you. And Pisces rising people has the Sun conjunct Neptune in their sign. If you happen to have your rising degree at around 17, 18 degrees, then you're going to really feel this strongly in your life. But this is, the first house is the realm where you're going to feel more sensitized this week, more intuitive, more in connection with the divine. This is where we want to escape in order to keep our vitality high, and this is where we need to watch for low vibrating people. So what does this mean for Pisces people? Well, you're going to just be more intuitive about your life journey. It's really exciting for Pisces rising people, actually, this energy, because we're going to get epiphanies and downloads. We're going to be sensitized and just going to get a feeling of knowingness about what direction we want to take, what we want our life to look like, how we want our life to unfold. And so we need to trust our intuition. If suddenly you get an epiphany during this week, particularly on the day that these two conjunct, that says, you know what, I want to go and live overseas. I'm going to go live in Bulgaria, trust that intuition. Crazy as it might seem, the intuition and the sensitized downloads that you're going to receive now, Pisces, during this week are going to be on the money, and you can trust them. So whatever it happens to be regarding not just where you live, but your life journey and how it plays out and where it unfolds. So that can be career, it can be relationships, it can be home, it can be money, it can be anything. The first house kind of brings in all these things into one, because the first house is all about how we survive and thrive and go through this material reality called life in this incarnation. Trust your intuition, Pisces people. Secondly, it's the first house realm that we're going to have to focus our attention on to keep our vitality buoyant through healthy escapism. So focus on caring for your body this week. And, if your body needs to sleep, if your body needs to rest, if you need to take time out to daydream, if you need to do a bit of exercise, if you need to go for a walk by a river or the beach or the lake, any water energy in your sign, then do so, because it's on focusing on the self and self-care, self-love, self-nurturance. That is your form of escapism. And of course, that floods over into a million different scenarios. Go and get your nails done at a salon. That's a form of escapism. If it's not something you do on a regular daily basis, then it's a form of escapism that you can utilize. If you need to have a soak in the bath with candles and chocolate and a glass of wine or something, then do that if that's self-nurturance for you. It's really healthy to focus on those things at this time. If you need to address, your care for your body, like looking after your health by taking, maybe calcium supplements or magnesium supplements or something at this time, that is an important thing to focus your energy on to increase your vitality. This is the house of the body. And so any type of self-care of the body, any type of self-care of the spirit too in this incarnation is essential. Taking time out on the couch on a Saturday afternoon to, curl up and read a book, that is healthy first house self-care. So taking time to dream and imagine is a really good thing for Pisces people to do too. Any form of self-care, self-honoring at this time is where you need to focus your attention to increase and lift your vitality if you're a Pisces person. So the final thing though also is that the first house is where we need to put boundaries in place for our well-being. We might have to put boundaries in place to protect our well-being and our survival and our ability to thrive. And it can mean, maybe there might be attacks from anybody, like it could be from an enemy, it could be that our daughter's really cranky this week, or it could be that a boss is, riding us hard and whatever. Whatever is not keeping our energy bubbling and joyful and happy and whatever is sort of stopping us from surviving and thriving in a beautiful, magical, Neptunian way, we need to put a boundary in place regarding that. I've been through all the signs, Pisces, and whether you've listened to them all or not, I've talked about specific realms of life. Say, for Aries rising, it was 12th house hidden enemies where they needed to have appropriate boundaries set, or 4th house boundaries with the mother figure or something. But for Pisces people, it's appropriate boundaries with anyone who is taking you out of your sense of self-worth, self-confidence, and taking you out of your capacity to survive and thrive. So it can be anybody who compromises that, tries to deceive you, tries to be fake with you, tries to pull the wool over your eyes. You need to have good boundaries in general this week, Pisces, from anyone who would drag you down. So that encompasses a lot of people. But the first house, it isn't, the other houses can be a lot more specific. The first house really sums up the self, us in this incarnation, who we are, what we are experiencing, what materially unfolds in our life. So for Pisces people, we will be sensitized about ourselves, we will have intuition about our life, we will need to go into ourselves as a source of escapism, and we need to watch out for anyone who would undermine these things in us. So it really encompasses the whole of life. We're sensitized, healthy escapism is important for us, and protecting ourselves from lower vibrating energies through good boundary setting is pivotal this week as part of our journey. So that is what is unfolding for all the signs this week. Thanks for sticking with me. I think this is probably the longest video I've ever produced, but I'm just so happy to be back with you all after a couple of weeks of change and challenge in my life. So let's close with a prayer of gratitude to the universe. Energy of love flowing around us all on this planet. We invite you in this week to be part of our experience, to be part of our knowledge, and part not only of our material reality, but our spiritual experience as a human being growing and receiving enlightenment on this planet. Thank you for the energy of love that is abounding with Neptune conjunct the Sun, the compassion that is available for us, the love that is available for us through this conjunction. Thank you for the wisdom that's available for us through all the other transits that are occurring. Help us to act with integrity, with wisdom, and with a seeking of the highest manifestation possible of the energies in the universe so that we can raise consciousness on this planet and all of us be blessed both now and for future generations because of it. And so it is. Well, thanks so much for joining me. I look forward to sharing with you again with a brand new video next week. I'll see you then.